of the reason why we study the Word of God is so we can learn the principles that govern the kingdom. And for instance, especially when we look at the Gospels, how Jesus performed all the miracles that he did. There's so many principles that we can learn from there. For example, when we look at the healing of the man who lay at the pool for 38 years, that healing was purely an act of mercy because it required no effort from the man, because he didn't even know who Jesus was, and Jesus simply moved out of compassion, and then he showed mercy to the man. And this shows us that there are things that God will do in our lives purely as an act of mercy, and they will require very little or no effort on our part. That will just be God being merciful. Yes, God is merciful all the time, but then, like I said, there are times when God will literally go the extra mile on our behalf, when he will literally do everything for us and we don't need to do anything. And the healing of the man who lay at the pool is one such example. And then when we look at the healing of the woman with the issue of blood, for instance, that's a totally different principle altogether, because what the woman did, she applied the laws of faith. That's how she received her healing. Jesus didn't play any part in her healing. Jesus wasn't even the one who healed her. She applied the spiritual laws that govern faith, and she was healed because Jesus didn't even know she was there. Jesus was actually going somewhere else with Jairus, and then she interrupted, and then she applied the laws that govern the spiritual realm of faith, and that's how she received her healing. And then now when we look at the other miracles, now those ones are merely always an act of obedience, and I feel that is where most of the times, like most of us are, it's an act of obedience. And then this is when God will issue an instruction. God will issue a specific instruction, and then now the miracle will be activated in us obeying the instruction. Like for instance, when we look at the account when Jesus turned the water into wine, he gave them an instruction, and then he said, go and fill the water pots with water and then go and serve it. So the miracle was activated by them obeying that instruction. Also when the 10 lepers came to Jesus wanting to be cleansed, Jesus said to them, go and show yourselves to the priest. And the Bible tells us that it's as they went that they were cleansed. So their miracle was only activated because of their obedience. And a lot of times the reason why we don't receive our miracles is because we don't obey the instruction that we are supposed to obey. Sometimes, yes, we do obey, but then sometimes we obey late, because what we need to know is delayed obedience is the same as no obedience at all. Because the moment when the instruction has been issued, that's the time that you need to act. That's the time that you need to obey. Because imagine if the lepers, after Jesus told them, go and show yourselves to the priest, imagine if they decided to go after 1 week. Obviously they were not going to receive their healing because of delayed obedience.